Hello friends, you are about to watch the recording of our webinar on July 22nd, Excel to Power BI. This would be about 40 minutes long. We had another hour of questions and answers after that. We have trimmed that in order to keep the video brief. Do join us for future webinars. We always leave time at the end for your questions. We plan to conduct these on a monthly basis. You can click on the button shown here to register for future webinars. The next one is going to be on Tuesday, August 18th. You can also click to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is the list of topics covered. You can click on the button to jump to the beginning of the webinar, or you can click on the link below that to open the table of contents, which will let you jump around to a specific section of the webinar. We'll also try to include that link in the details section of this video. Here are the rest of the topics covered. And here's a list of some of the questions that were answered. These have been trimmed from the video, but do join us for future webinars for our Q&A sessions.
Well, hello, welcome to the webinar. I'm Avi Singh. At Power Pivot Pro, we have been blogging, training, and consulting on Power Pivot and Power BI since 2009. Now, in our past webinar, in our last webinar, of which you can catch a recording on our site or our YouTube channel, we talked about how Power BI, the term itself, can mean two different things. One, PowerBI.com, software as a service, or the Power toolset, Power Pivot, Power Query, Power View, Power Map. For this webinar, we're going to focus squarely on PowerBI.com. And why is that? Well, something big is going on. Power BI, which has been in preview for a while now, is going to be released. It's going to be the general availability release on July 24th. So that's big news. But if we step back and look at all the activity, all the messaging that has come out of Microsoft, it's very clear that they are betting big on Power BI. It's here to stay, and they're really all chips in. I would highly recommend that you read James Phillips' blog with that announcement. Now, it's hard to share URLs on the webinar as I'm conducting it, but in our follow-up email, we will put in all the URLs or all the web pages that I mentioned, so don't feel like you have to write down a whole lot of notes or write down any URL that I might show you. But yeah, that announcement is a good one to read. Now, from my perspective, and hopefully from all of yours as well, the lens that I'm looking at it is, what does all of this mean to an Excel user? How do we fit in? Let me talk about that with a fairy tale. We all like fairy tales, right? A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, all of the BI power was concentrated at the top of the pyramid. And these professionals were experts at what they did, right? The enterprise level BI tools. But they were not the business users. They were not the ones who really needed the business insights to make decisions, to go through their day. Those folks were down at the bottom. And they would get some reports and data out of enterprise BI systems, but in general, they relied on Excel to cobble together whatever they needed. Excel is a capable but an imperfect tool. Now, the Power BI toolset transformed that landscape by essentially giving us Excel++, Excel on steroids, Excel like you had never seen before. Tools like Power Pivot and Power Query empowered a massive audience. But the story isn't about these two groups against each other, right? The IT or business or whatever you want to call it, right? It's really about balance. It's about these two groups working together with synergy and harmony. But Microsoft has delivered more, a lot more, with PowerBI.com. But it isn't clear how this will shape our fairy tale, how the next chapter will be written. Well, let's dive in, take a look, and then we'll come back and talk about what the future holds. Well, for the Excel user, and there are essentially two paths. One, if you've already built an Excel Power Pivot model, and a lot of you might be in that space, or you have not built a data model or are willing to start from scratch. We'll pretty much follow path A, but then we'll come back and talk about path B. Alright, so for this demo, I'm using screenshots, but I can toggle over to the live site if needed to show something. And I'm using screenshots pretty much to speed up what I have to show you. And I think I have a lot to show you, so it's going to be exciting. First, let's clear up some terminology. Now, as you move in this new Power BI world, you would stop seeing the terms we are familiar with and love. Power Pivot, Power Query, Power View. Well, they're not gone. All of those are present. Actually, all of those have always been present in the new world, just sometimes hidden away or being called different things. So Power Query is just get data. That's how you would see it referenced. Power Pivot, that's well hidden, but when it is referenced, it's going to be the data model or the data set. Power View has a new look and feel, but in general it's the report. There's also another visualization item which we will show and talk about, which is Dashboard, but that's somewhat entirely new and exciting. So we'll go through these steps today in PowerBI.com. Get data, create reports, create dashboard, share dashboard, look at the mobile app, talk about refresh. But before you can get data, you got to sign up. Hey, sign up is easy. You just fill in your work email address, click this button, and you're good to go. Once you're in, first thing you would probably want to do is get some data. Now you have a few options here. Hold on. You can click on services and connect to a lot of cloud-based services directly, or you can click on databases, and there are your connection options there. But for our purposes, we're going to click on files. That's really what's going to let us bring in our existing Excel Power Pivot data model. And on this screen, you have essentially two choices: either upload a local file or get it from OneDrive. If you get it from OneDrive, the cool thing is, if there are any changes made to the file, you open it, you save it back to your OneDrive. I use it all the time. Those changes are automatically going to be reflected on PowerBI.com. I have noticed a slight lag though, which annoys me sometimes. For today though, we'll just pick local file. So you click on local file, and this is just a screenshot of the file I'm about to upload. So just an Excel Power Pivot model, nothing revolutionary. Actually, it is revolutionary. I think it's kick-ass. So yes, an Excel Power Pivot model, relationships, measures, some Power View sheets embedded in as well. And we'll just pick that up, select it, hit open, and at that point it's going to upload that workbook. You're going to see it going through. It's going to say, hey, importing data over here. And once it's done, it's really put three elements for you, at least three visible elements. And the first one is the data set. In my mind, that represents the data model. So even though it may not say Power Pivot or data model, but that's essentially what it represents. The next one is reports. Now this, it sucked out all the Power View sheets that were existing in my file and puts that in a report. We'll come back and talk more about reports. And lastly is the dashboard, which you can see right now is pretty bland. It's just nothing much going on, but you can build on that. So let's talk about the data set. Now if you click on that, you would see the ellipses here. You would see a few options there. Now you can click Explore, and that will essentially start off a new report for you. You can also just click on the element itself, and that does the same thing. So when you click, oops, something happened. Oh, okay. That's why I have the live one as well. So let's go to the live. Now I'm on a website, and I was trying to show you my screenshots. I'm gonna get messed up. If I click on Explore, I get this blank pane, and here I have my field list, and it essentially works like a pivot. So I can say by year, show me sales, and I can choose a visualization type, and there are a whole bunch of other options here. By the way, this rendering engine is new, and I think it's really cool. It's certainly a lot more flexible, has a lot more options than were previously available. So you create a report this way, and then you can just click Save to save your report, give it a name. All right, so let's go back. And of course, this is the existing report that was sucked in. So this was, and you can see down at the bottom, I had a few Power View sheets. All of those are in here. Oops. And lastly, the dashboard. Okay. Oh well, sorry. So I was jumping around a bit. So create reports, we already talked about this. You click Explore, gives you a blank canvas, just drag and drop, choose visualization, choose your options here. Pretty intuitive to work with. Hit Save, and that's going to save a new report for you. So reports are great. That's somewhat similar to what you have already seen, Power View. They have the same look and feel, but dashboards are brand new. So for dashboards, what you do is go to any report, and if you click or hover on an item, you would see this pin, this thumbtack, and all you have to do is just click that, and it gets pinned to the dashboard. So you click that, and it's going to say, yep, I pinned it to the dashboard. If you have multiple dashboards, it pins it to the last dashboard that was active. And that may sound kind of weird, but it's pretty intuitive once you get the hang of it. So you can go around, I can click, go on a different report, right? So I had the margin percentage report that I created, I pinned something off here, then I could go here and pin this visual, and if I had a different report based on a totally different data set, in this case I pulled in my MailChimp data set by connecting directly to that cloud service, I can click on that and pin that visual. And then if I go back to my dashboard, I'll find all of the pinned items here ready for a quick glance. Now the dashboard, it gives you a lot of options to kind of move things around, to resize them, make them smaller, bigger, all of that. Typically people either arrange it kind of vertically, as I've done in this case, or horizontally. That just makes scrolling really easy, especially in a mobile app or a touch device. So here we have all the different pinned elements. I'm going to scroll down. So I scroll down, you can see I have the elements from my AdventureWorks report side by side with my MailChimp elements. So you can put together a dashboard from a lot of different reports and just have it be ready for consumption. Now hopefully you would have something worthwhile. Before I go ahead, you also have the option to ask a question. The natural language Q&A that's been part of Power BI for a while now, that's certainly available there. And that's available at the box at the top here. And you can just, type something in, it gives you an answer. And even this response, you can pin this. So any question you ask, and you're like, hey, yeah, this is something that I need to see all the time. You can go ahead and pin it, and that's going to make it back to your dashboard as well. So I just pinned that item in my dashboard. Also on dashboards, when you click on an element, it's going to go by default to the underlying report. So if you had pinned this element from a report, if I click on it, it's going to drill down. It's going to take me to that report. So that's navigation from the dashboard. Well, so hopefully you have created something worthwhile, something more worthwhile than all the AdventureWorks examples we keep showing you. And if you have created something worthwhile, you would probably want to share it with your colleagues and so forth. So let's see how you go about doing that. You can do that pretty easily by either clicking here and share, or the share dashboard icon up top. So either share dashboard up top or share here, both do the same thing. I do want to emphasize that sharing is not available, at least not currently, at report level. So the grain of sharing, if you want to talk about it that way, is dashboards. That's the unit of sharing. That's what you share. Now here you can see I'm trying to invoke this menu on a report, and there's no sharing. It's just not there. So back to our dashboard, we're going to click share, and it brings this up. This is very, very straightforward. You type in an email address, change the message if you want to type something more that's going to be sent to them, and just hit share. Now this email address has to be within the same domain name pretty much. So I'm using avsing.com, so it has to be any user on the same domain name. I do want to talk about three things here. One, the checkbox at the bottom, which is allow recipients to share your dashboard, right? So pretty intuitive. Can they go on and further share it with somebody or not? So you can control that using that checkbox. To learn more about that and a lot about how sharing works, this Learn More link is very, very useful. And something that it says right there, which wasn't intuitive to me to begin with, the recipients will have access to the same data and reports as you have in the dashboard. What that means is, even though you're sharing a dashboard, but remember how we could click in the dashboard and go to the underlying report, they would also be able to do that. So in a way, when you've shared a dashboard, you've also shared all the underlying reports. Again, that wasn't intuitive to me initially, but yeah, I guess it makes sense. And lastly, this third element, shared with, I'll hold on to that one. I'll come back and show you what that looks like. So anyway, I click share, and it says, yep, success, your dashboard was shared successfully, and my colleague is going to get an email like this. And again, I could have customized my message here a little bit, but essentially they're going to say, fine, I'm going to open, and it brings them to this page where they can either sign up, and again, sign up is like a 5-second process, or they can sign in. In this case, the person already has an account, so they're going to sign into that, and they see the dashboard. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but the dashboards that are shared with you have an icon next to them so that you can differentiate the ones that are shared versus the ones you own. So this has that small icon up there. And again, so this is read-only to them. They cannot make any changes. But if you make any changes, it's going to show up here. If the data set gets updated, hopefully it's getting refreshed automatically. That's obviously going to appear to them. They're going to have the most latest and greatest refreshed information in their dashboard as well. And they would have the similar interactivity that they can click on an item and go down to the report. So even though you shared the dashboard, you also implicitly shared the underlying reports. And you notice the edit report is also grayed out in this case, so they can't make any changes to any of this. Now, since we did allow resharing in this case, we allowed that, yeah, John can share with others as well. So John can go and click on the share dashboard icon again and share it with somebody else. And I like the fact that how it just kind of shows as a reminder, saying, hey, it's owned by AviSing. So just that way it's clear you're not sharing your own dashboard, you're resharing someone else's. With that, I'll go back to the third item that I was holding on to. So now if I go in as an owner, in this case AviSing was the owner of the dashboard, and if you click on shared with, it gives you a whole list of who it is shared with, and you also have controls to revoke sharing and so on and so forth, right? So that's the third item that I hadn't mentioned earlier, hadn't shown you earlier. Now, can I only share kind of one by one? That seems kind of painful if you're working in groups. Well, no, with the GA release on July 24th, you do have team collaboration available to you. It is for Pro, which is the paid version only. By the way, you can go for a Pro trial for 60 days, I believe, so you can just see what those features bring you. One of the paid features is this team collaboration. And it works through groups in Office 365. I don't have more screenshots for you, but a lot more information on the PowerBI.com website about that. So that's a great new feature for sharing. That also allows for collaboration, as I understand. In our earlier scenario, only one person could edit. With the team collaboration, you can say, hey, yeah, me and my colleague can edit, and these 50 people can view it, something like that. So sharing is great. That lets them see it on their browser, on their machines. But in this day and age, you also want people to be able to access on their mobile devices, on their tablets, on their phone. And PowerBI.com, gosh, is great in that regard. It has pretty much options for all of those. And a good way to get started is click on this down arrow and you will see a bunch of download links. The first one right now is Power BI for mobile. If you click on that, it will take you to the page where you can download it, a Windows app, a Windows 8 app, an iOS app, or an Android app from Google Play. And they're all, so I'm going to show you the Windows 8 app, but they all work pretty much in a similar fashion. So here I have Windows 8 and here's my Power BI app. So I can be on a tablet, I can be on a phone, I suppose. Well, tablet for Windows 8. Right, and when I launch the application, it asks me to sign in. Once I'm signed in, I'm going to see my dashboard and reports. And for Win 8, it has the, all the gestures and stuff, so you can swipe your finger from the top and you will see menus and whatnot. And when you click on a dashboard, it opens up. You can scroll vertically, horizontally to see different items. I think the iOS app also has alerting, so you can say if the margin drops below 40% or something, send me an alert. I'm not sure about the other apps. Right, so you can scroll up and down. If you click on an item, it kind of opens full screen, or at least enlarged. And then if you notice, there are these buttons up there, annotate and share. So you can actually annotate. You can draw something, highlight something, type in some text, and then you click share, and that lets you share right away with a colleague or friend or whoever. So pretty cool functionality. Certainly takes BI to the new age. So that was kind of the demo. I think we're doing okay on time. Refresh is not much of a demo, but I'll talk about it. Essentially, you have two options. Either you set up the refresh on PowerBI.com. That's kind of driven from the cloud in a sense. Or you refresh it locally, kind of on a desktop, so you're developing Excel Power Pivot model. You refresh it locally, but you keep publishing it to Power BI. They have the same end result, pretty much, just work differently. So the first one is the refresh options in here. So if you click on the icon next to your data set, you will see them right there. Although, most likely, for most data sets, you would be connecting to an on-premises source. So maybe in some cases all you have are cloud sources and that just works fine, like MailChimp or whatever. But if you're using on-prem sources, you would have to use this Power BI Personal Gateway, which would allow the Power BI cloud service to kind of come in and connect to your local sources, provide that capability. Power Update works differently, so it's going to run on your desktop. Essentially, imagine you opening an Excel Power Pivot model and hitting refresh. That's essentially what it's doing. With a lot more bells and whistles, and it works not just with Power BI, it works with other options as well. Disclaimer, Power Update is not a Microsoft product. It's by Power Pivot Pro and team. You can go and just search for Power Update on our site to find more information. It's a free trial. Actually it's a freemium model, so go ahead and download and try it out. Sometimes I've seen kind of anecdotal evidence on forums and such that the PowerBI.com refresh is kind of hiccupy. Sometimes it doesn't work. This can be a great fallback if you're having trouble with PowerBI.com refresh. So that was kind of a whirlwind demo of PowerBI.com, but we only talked about one path, which was you already had a data model. Well, what if you did not have a Power Pivot data model built in, or you were willing to start from scratch? In that case, well, of course, if you don't have a data model, you can open up Excel, open up Power Pivot, and build one there. Or you have a choice, or you can use a new tool called Power BI Desktop. It used to be called Power BI Designer, and some of my screenshots might still say the name, but now it's been renamed Power BI Desktop with the GA release. And yeah, so it's a free download. You install that, and it essentially has the same elements. And again, you're not going to find Power Query, Power Pivot, but it has all the same elements. Power Query, you're going to see that as get data. It's going to look very, very familiar. Exactly same, I think. And Power Pivot is the data model. And again, you would only see that as ability to create relationships, new measure, new column, but certainly it's there. It's the same technology. If anything you've learned about Power Pivot absolutely still applies. And lastly, Power View is kind of reports, and you can build that using the tool as well. So one kind of holistic tool with everything in it, and works great. And of course, they release on a monthly basis or something. I do have one qualm with this. If you click Get Data and select the Excel option, the first time I tried it, I had an existing Power Pivot model and I tried to bring it in. Now, as it turns out, that is currently not supported, right? So if you have an Excel Power Pivot model currently, you can't just import it into this new world, into Power BI Desktop. It's not going to work. Really, the only Excel import is kind of raw data, which is unfortunate. I think that would be a good capability for people who have been trying Power Pivot on to jump to this new world of Power BI. So that is number one on my wish list, and I will talk more about that, about my wish list. So have the ability of Power BI Desktop to just import an existing Power Pivot data model. Right now, if you have an existing one, you have to essentially build it from scratch, connect to the data sources, define all your measures, and so on and so forth. Kind of painful. So how do you choose? We talked about these two paths, but in general, how do you choose between these two tools? Going forward, which one should you pick? Well, it's going to be a choice, and in my mind, I'm thinking if you're all in for PowerBI.com, if you're like, yeah, that's it, that's where I'm going, that's all I'm using, then Power BI for Desktop is the perfect choice. In fact, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't use Power BI Desktop, right? And certainly that would give you the latest and greatest features. They have updates every month. So every month you're getting some new functionality. It's unbelievable. Excel Power Pivot, when you're not so sure, you don't want to put all the eggs in the same basket. You're not so sure about PowerBI.com. You want to keep your other options open. Then maybe you're going to hedge your bets and stick with Excel Power Pivot. You're going to have to live with the current feature set that doesn't evolve very rapidly. The next bump is going to be Office 2016, but in a lot of places that's not a casual upgrade. It's not like the day Office 2016 is released, you go and upgrade, everybody upgrades, right? So you have to kind of live with the current feature set. But yeah, keeps your options open. So we talked about PowerBI.com. We talked about the development environment, how you develop your models using either Power BI Desktop or Excel and add-ins, right? But I want to ask the question, why use PowerBI.com, especially if you have been using Excel for a while, and it's awesome, right? I mean, the things that you can do with Excel and Power Pivots compared to what you had to get by just with Excel. Oh my gosh, it's a terrific improvement. Why should you care about PowerBI.com? Well, I spoke about this at length in my past webinar, so go back and check that video if you like this section. But essentially, it's about sharing. Right? So think about YouTube. Video sharing used to be really hard. YouTube made it really easy. Now we just upload a video and folks just watch it wherever they want to watch it, on their phones, on their tablets, on their computers. Makes it super, super easy for everybody. You're not worried about what version of software they have, the codecs, the file size, nothing, right? So that's what we want for workbooks or data as well. We need a YouTube, right? We need a YouTube for workbooks and data, or a server option, right? That's what YouTube is. And we have a few, right? So we have had SharePoint, SSAS Tabular, and a few others. But really, PowerBI.com is being positioned as your first option by Microsoft. So Microsoft would like you to consider that as a first option when it comes to sharing your workbooks, right? And of course, when you're sharing, you want people to be able to consume via web and mobile interface, and that's where Power BI really shines. Right, so if you're happy with Excel Power Pivot, gosh, if you go to a server option, any of these, but yeah, PowerBI.com especially, you're going to be able to scale it up to a whole different level. There is a slight hiccup though with this setup. When we talk about the server option, YouTube for data, we want that service to host our data model, right? So you've seen this diagram before. Power Pivot is the center of the universe, right? You put all your data in and you want to push your data model, host it on a server, right? The YouTube option. But from that point on, my ideal server option would be agnostic to visualization. Would not really care that much about visualization. It would let you connect multiple visualization tools and engines to the data model. Why not? Use kind of bring your own beer. I mean, right? So whichever tool you're used to, whichever tool you're happy with, use that. You can use. And this is SharePoint already caters to this to some extent, right? You can upload your data model on SharePoint and create online Power View reports. You can connect other Excel files to it, have these satellite Excel files. You can create SSRS reports on it, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the server option. That's how the server option should work in my mind. And the hiccup with Power BI is exactly that. Right now, your only visualization option is PowerBI.com. Now, as awesome as it is, they are moving at a frenzied pace. There's stream apps, funnel charts, gosh, whatnot, right? More than we've probably ever had in Excel even. But still, a lot of people which are used to using certain tools, the server option should allow you to connect those tools. And when I mean tools, I'm really thinking about Excel. So yeah, so after I've uploaded my data model to PowerBI.com, I love the Power BI visualizations, but hey, I want to be able to connect, create an Excel pivot table, a pivot chart connected to this model hosted on PowerBI.com. So that's not available right now, and that is number 2 on my wish list. So we recently celebrated our 800th blog post, and in that I went back and read Rob's very first blog post, and he used the word grid heads, and he said, with grid heads. So yeah, Excel people, they like the grid, they love the grid. I'm one of them. So yeah, unless I see that something displayed in that grid, sometimes it just doesn't work for me. So would love to have the ability to connect Excel to a PowerBI.com hosted model. So let's get back to a fairy tale. Talk about what the future holds. Now for one, Power BI team listens. Gosh, they have been amazing about connecting with the user community and soliciting feedback and responding to that and really designing the product based on that. In fact, the James Phillips post that I mentioned at the beginning talks about that. He talks about how these users shape the product, right? I love the sound of that. However, in our fairy tale, the folks at the top, right, the BI professionals, they do that as their day job, right? And they have been very heavily involved with the PowerBI.com conversation. And that's great. And more power to them, right? They have made this a better product. However, the folks at the bottom, Excel users, they never really identify themselves as that anyway, right? They have all different titles, financial analysts, marketing gurus, so on and so forth. Never ever does it have the word Excel in it. So yeah, we're kind of distributed, and we don't often speak up or stand up on these forums. So that's my one request for you to get involved. So support.powerbi.com. You can go there, click on the Power BI forum, or you can click this link, PPPT Pro, Power Idea, and again, we'll share all the links that we mentioned, web pages we mentioned in this talk in a follow-up email. So go to the site, and there you can either vote or submit new ideas, right? So please get involved. So we talked about the next chapter. Well, we hold the keys to our future, right? So get involved. Power BI team is really listening to us. So submit the ideas that would make your life easier. And of course, you saw my wish list. One, not necessarily in order, but the one thing I want is ability to import a Power Pivot model to Power BI desktop. That's been up and running for a while, so it's had a few votes, but hey, it could use more. More votes, the higher, easier it is for the Power BI team to prioritize that task. And the other one, which is basic in my mind, that once I upload it, I mean, PowerBI.com feels in a lot of ways a one-way journey to an Excel user right now, right? I mean, you just lose Excel from the equation altogether. You upload it, or you put it into Power BI desktop, and then it's on PowerBI.com, and now you're doing these reports and dashboards. I really want the ability to still be able to create pivot tables and charts. So I didn't find that, so I just entered that, and that could use some votes. Sorry, folks. Well, so that was more from an Excel user perspective. I do want to do a shout out for the webinar, which is going to be conducted in a few days, July 28th, by the Microsoft team, by the awesome Jen Underwood. And again, we'll share all the links in a follow-up email, so don't feel like you have to scramble to write it down. So to learn more, certainly attend that one as well. Just to clarify one thing, which is, you hear so much and all of this seems overwhelming at times, but really all of that, all of the visualization, the reports, the dashboards are only as good as the data model powering it, right? So don't be confused about that. Power Pivot or data model is still the center of the universe. So hey, there's help. We certainly have our blog. These webinars, we'll keep doing these once every month. Best way to stay notified is subscribe to our newsletter. And we have our book and multiple training options and multiple consulting options and so forth. If you want to engage with us, send an email or check out our site. So let me quickly recap all that we talked about. We talked about the two paths essentially for Excel users. If you have an existing Excel Power Pivot model, you can just go ahead and upload it, work with that, or you can use Power BI Desktop to build a new model from scratch. On PowerBI.com, we saw how you can get and connect to data, create reports, create dashboards, share dashboards. We looked at the mobile app, the refresh app options. Power BI Desktop and when to choose, how to choose, and PowerBI.com, how that essentially gives you that YouTube for workbook and data sets. And lastly, please get involved, speak up, go to support.powerbi.com and vote or submit new ideas. Oh gosh, that was a lot to cover. This is recorded, so you'll be able to see it later. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. But we still have time for Q&A. And hey, as a thank you, we have an upcoming class. We wanted to offer you a discount for that. So, well, feel free to avail that.
We hope you enjoyed that recording. We had one whole additional hour of Q&A after this. And we do hope you join us for our future webinars.